10 years ago today, on October 12th, 2010, Medal of Honor was released. It was a reboot of the iconic Medal of Honor series that always took place in World War II. This game decided to take a series in a completely new direction by being a modern military shooter that took place during the invasion of Afghanistan in 2001, pitting the United States against the Taliban. It was a very interesting setting because at that point the war on terror was very fresh on people's minds, the aftermath of September 11th, and it was very interesting that we finally got video games that addressed those points in history, even though they were very recent events that were a lot more sensitive than, let's say, going back to World War II, where most of the people involved in that war were long dead. The war in Afghanistan was still fresh on people's minds and was still going on back then and is still going on to this day. The war in Afghanistan is not over. U.S. troops are still fighting in Afghanistan almost 20 years later. So I think they definitely took a huge risk doing something that was a lot more sensitive because it was a recent event. It was technically still an ongoing event, although the game took place in 2001. Again, that was a very tumultuous time in American history. It was a very recent thing, and people still felt the shock of that to this day. Back in 2010, they felt it, and in 2020, they still feel it. So it was a very interesting setting that we hadn't really seen before in video games, and I was really interested in seeing how the game would turn out. I remember hearing that the developers actually consulted with real people who actually fought in these conflicts and know about the weapons, know about what warfare is really like, and they really tried to make Medal of Honor as close to a real combat setting than, let's say, Call of Duty, which is more of an arcade shooter, where everything is pretty much fast-paced, there's always something going on, you're always going to find an enemy every 2 seconds, and it's just really fast-paced action that doesn't really resemble actual combat scenarios. And this leads me to the reason why I think this game failed, because it really didn't do so well in terms of sales. It went well below expectations for EA, and it was really the beginning of the end for the Medal of Honor series. Of course, that was solidified with Warfighter in 2012, which we'll make a video about eventually, because that game did even worse in terms of sales, and that really was the nail in the coffin for Medal of Honor. But with Medal of Honor 2010, it didn't do so well either, and it just didn't resonate with people. It got a lot of mixed reviews. People didn't stick with the game. They abandoned it pretty quickly. The online multiplayer was practically dead within a few months. It just didn't get a lot of love. And I remember my own experience with the game back in the day. I pre-ordered it. I was so hyped about it, but I mainly cared about the multiplayer because I heard it was being developed by DICE, and at the time I was a huge fan of Battlefield Bad Company 2. So I was expecting the same thing as Bad Company 2, just with a fresh coat of paint, I guess. I guess that's what I was expecting coming into Medal of Honor. And I feel like a lot of people had those same expectations. You also had the Call of Duty players that were interested in Medal of Honor because it was a modern military shooter. And you can tell that EA definitely wanted Medal of Honor to be kind of like an in-between between Call of Duty and Battlefield and kind of be a mix of those two, especially on the multiplayer side of things. The campaign is definitely a lot more tactical than Call of Duty, and the Battlefield campaign no one really cares about. The Bad Company campaign is just over-the-top ridiculous. It definitely didn't have a focus on realism. But as far as the actual multiplayer is concerned, because that is where I spent most of my time playing it, because single-player campaign was okay. They really were two completely different games. The single-player was developed by Danger Close, who would go on to develop Warfighter, the full game, but the multiplayer portion was developed by DICE, and they were on two completely different engines. So if you played the campaign, then went to multiplayer, it really felt like you were playing two different games, because you really were. It was running on Unreal Engine 3, the campaign, and the multiplayer was using the same Frostbite engine as Bad Company 2, and it just didn't work. It really just did not resonate with people. The campaign, again, people had mixed opinions on the single player. A lot of people didn't like it. Personally, I thought it was okay. Yeah, I wouldn't put it up against like Modern Warfare 2 or campaigns like that, which really left a huge impression on me. But it was fine. But most people play the multiplayer anyway. So even if the campaign was great, the multiplayer is where people were focused on. And in terms of the multiplayer developed by DICE, which is the gameplay you're seeing right now, I think the reason why it didn't do so well is because the Call of Duty fans were pissed off because it played absolutely nothing like COD. And that's the thing, like, I was a little confused by the reviews because they said it was too similar to Call of Duty. It played absolutely nothing like Call of Duty, and I was someone who is hugely into COD, and it was nothing like COD. So I don't know where people got that from. There really were no similarities, but I think that's actually the reason why it failed, because it wasn't like COD. It played completely different than COD. It played a lot like Bad Company 2 in terms of the movement, in terms of the gunplay. It's very similar, and I just don't think the Call of Duty players appreciated that, especially since it had more players in the match. The maps were bigger. They weren't really the 3-lane maps that they were used to. The maps were kind of clustered, and it was really easy to die and get sniped if you weren't careful. It definitely had more elements of tactical gameplay than, let's say, Modern Warfare 2 did. The pacing was definitely a lot slower in Medal of Honor than Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 1. But on the flip side, the reason why Battlefield fans did not like the game is because you didn't have those large-scale, open battlefields like in the Battlefield series, where you just have these large maps. It's a large-scale, open sandbox where you can do so many different things. But with Medal of Honor, it's more focused on medium to long-range engagements, I guess. You know, it's not like a close quarters as Call of Duty, but at the same time, it's not as big as Battlefield. And I think that's why it didn't work, because the Call of Duty fans didn't like it, and the Battlefield fans didn't like it. I know with Medal of Honor, you did have sort of larger scale conflicts in the Objective Raid game mode, which was just a large, big map where you had different objectives and you either attack. It was pretty much a modification of Rush, because it had a lot to do with planting explosives, but I think Rush in Bad Company 2 worked a lot better than Objective Raid in Medal of Honor. And then they had Team Deathmatch, Domination, your standard modes in every other FPS game. And I just think it was very underwhelming for a lot of people, including myself. I mean, as soon as Black Ops 1 came out, which it came out a couple weeks later, I forgot this game even existed for a while. And I was just on Black Ops 1 because I was just so much more into that game than Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor to me just feels like a smaller version of Bad Company 2 with kill streaks. And I think DICE just had a really hard time figuring out what they wanted to do with Medal of Honor. They probably didn't even want to work with it. I mean, they were so set on Battlefield 3. That was their next big game. But they had a team of developers at DICE that had to make the multiplayer portion of Medal of Honor. And they also had a Vietnam expansion for Bad Company 2 that they were also working on. So they just didn't put all the effort in that they should have, because they were just working on so many other different things, and they really didn't care about Medal of Honor. It really shows. The multiplayer for this game really wasn't as well polished as it could have been, and it felt rushed. They were just trying to cash in on the Call of Duty hype, make sure it came out before Call of Duty to cash in on those sales, but they didn't really care about making the highest quality product that they possibly could. That isn't to say that Medal of Honor is a bad game. There is a lot of fun to be had, but it's definitely not going to be in the conversation as one of the greatest multiplayers of all time. Definitely not. It was okay. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't fantastic either. Going back to this game on PC, though, I feel like it works a lot better on the PC, because I did get it back in the day on PS3. I feel like the keyboard and mouse layout works a lot better than the controller in Medal of Honor. There are still people online on PC. I'm not sure about the consoles. I think there are a lot more people on PC, although it really is in like the low double digits. You'll have like 20 to 50 players max online at any given point. So it does vary, but the game is not completely dead by any means. So if you are interested in picking it up, if you're curious, it's still on. It's $20 though on Origin and Steam, and it's not part of the EA Play subscription, which I find very strange. And I would just recommend that you wait for the game to go on sale. I bought the game when it was on sale for $5, so just wait for that to come around again. Same thing with Warfighter. I think that game is even more dead than Medal of Honor 2010. But you will still find matches to this day. Just don't come in expecting another Call of Duty or Battlefield, because it really is its own thing. And a lot of people didn't like it. I did enjoy most of the multiplayer maps, and overall, I didn't think it was a bad game. Just when Black Ops 1 came out, I was just really obsessed with that. And I kind of forgot about it. I'm not exactly sure why I didn't play this game so much, But I guess I'm not alone because, like I said, the game didn't do so well. But I guess they did something right if there's still a little bit of a player base left over 10 years later. So let me know what you guys think about Medal of Honor 2010 in the comments down below. If you have any fond memories of the game, if you think the game was underrated, I want to hear what you guys all have to say in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.